Sentire Media.
Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So, today we have a special guest on the show, and I'm very much looking forward to having a chat today about my favorite topic, Italian food, which of course is a passion for both of us. Our guest's name is Daniela Sfara. She's a culinary expert born in Toronto and raised between Canada and Italy. Daniela's mission is to honor authentic Italian culinary heritage while promoting sustainability and education through food experiences globally. As an Italian private chef, she specializes in traditional regional dishes and is passionate about the slow food movement. Daniela runs a home trattoria offering clients dining experiences, conducts cooking classes, and hosts an all'aperto supper club. She's the brand ambassador for Rustichella D'Abruzzo, a pasta company located in the region of Abruzzo in Italy, and she collaborates with Italian food producers and local specialty shops. Her culinary journey has taken her from Dubai, where she's curated Italian traditional dinners, to teaching at culinary schools and participated in sustainability initiatives. Locally, she's worked with Conestoga College, creating master classes and sharing her knowledge with students. And Daniela is also working on a cookbook and plans to import authentic Italian products. Daniela, thanks so much for being here today and talking about Italian food, which is a passion, a huge passion between the both of us. So again, thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me, because I think if you didn't have that same passion, let's face it, we wouldn't be here talking right now. So thank you for also doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is extremely important and very, very, very special.
I appreciate those words. Thank you. And you're right. Yes, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have that shared passion. Glad we're definitely able to connect. So could you just take a minute or two and kind of just tell everybody, about yourself and your story and what inspired you to, what led you to this moment?
Well, it's funny because I had a little bit of we'll say a very extended, long, brief break. So I've been cooking since I was a kid, of course, the youngest of 5 kids, to a Calabrese mother, a single mother, which means I was either her slave in the kitchen or she was truly teaching me to cook. And either way, it worked out to both of our benefits, because I loved cooking since I was, 2, 3. I was always curious. And then without doing it professionally or pursuing a professional career, every now and again I'd been offered to do segments here and segments there, and I always thought it was crazy, and I never wanted to, because to me, honoring nonna's dishes and quella cucina tradizionale regionale, that people seem to think Italian food is just Italian food, where it does not exist in Italy. It's regional. And so I take it a step further and go village regional, so very rural. And, so I've always been, as much as I've possibly could have been, the culinary nucleus within the family. So, holidays, parties, etc. It was always Danielle's house, Danielle's house. It didn't matter to me, 60 people, 70 people, could barely fit. It didn't matter. It was the convivialità. I didn't care if it took me 3 days to clean after. It was exactly the moments of being in the moment that I loved. And so, my career was very different. I was a jewelry designer in Toronto for over 20 years. And to me, it's interesting because they kind of work the same way. It's very detail oriented. It's an appreciation for art. It's an appreciation for creating something beautiful, sometimes from nothing, which is exactly what cucina is.
Absolutely.
The cucina tradizionale. And, the more I see modern dishes, the more I actually tend to go back to the traditional ones, because
I'm the same way.
They're beautiful. Give me fluff, give me all these things, but do I really need a flower on my plate? Give me something that I know a nonna made with her apron on, and it's got a story to me.
Exactly.
So, and at the end of the day, as much as I hate to say it, a lot of those chefs go home and crave those same dishes too. So
Yes, they're just the hearty dishes, the things you
yeah,
find, you walk into a trattoria
exactly.
and you get that warm feeling. So I know you're team trattoria. I'm also team trattoria as well.
Yeah.
I like that feeling. I like to go in and talk to the waiter and understand the story and pick that person's brain as well, which I know
Yeah.
we spoke a few days ago and you were all for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, jewelry, but I've always cooked passionately. And then I moved to Cambridge looking for something a little bit slower from the insanity of Toronto streets and traffic. And, oddly enough, I did find it here in Cambridge, but sort of not, because I came and I moved to an apartment that's on a freaking main street. And so there goes that theory.
Exactly. The hustle and bustle followed you.
Yeah, it was crazy. But then, there was construction happening and COVID happened and it was nuts. And for the first time in my life, I could actually sleep in and porco cane, ma mi svegliano ogni mattina. And so I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to get these people to stop doing construction when I could very possibly be sleeping, which true enough did never happen. Like I've never woken up at 7 or 7:30. I'm up at 4 and 5. So I thought, okay, well, let's take it the Italian way. Let's deal with it the proper way. And what do? We feed people. So
Yes, yes.
uh, yeah, I went to my butcher in Toronto, picked up some stuff, and albeit veal sandwiches are not authentically Italian, that's what everybody loves here. So I made those, handed them out, and sure enough, quite literally overnight, from that very day until the time construction was over, I was the chef in town and I fed every single person on that construction crew. And anyone I told that to, they thought I was either insane, lying, or, whatever. But it was so fun.
I
And
love that. That's a
yes,
great story.
it,
That's a great story, and I'm sure you probably delayed the end of construction. So if it were to take 1 year or maybe 2 years now because they're coming over and eating,
oh my
but
God.
that's not a terrible thing.
Shit.
Um,
Well, I will tell you what was more hilarious was actually getting a text message from one of them one morning saying, "Is it too early or can we start? We're out in front of your house." I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is
I
the
love it.
power that food has.
And that's
So
the
yeah,
convivialità, like you mentioned earlier, the
right.
convivialità being the togetherness, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, just that human to human contact.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
That was fun.
I'm
And
sure it was,
then,
and it's more fun for them, of course. And
well,
you
it was.
mentioned, and so you made them veal. Was there anything else that
Oh,
specifically that you
geez,
would
la
make?
parmigiana, eggplant parm, which
Wow,
is the only parmigiana, le lasagne,
of
abbiamo
course.
fatto la pasta, everything. But,
Well, if you're making parmigiana for random people, I'm driving up from New
you're on
Jersey,
your way.
and
Okay.
I could eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, then
Parmigiana
you have to
is the
try the melanzane ripiene that my mother and nonna would make. They're from Calabria, and I'm telling you, a lot of people in Calabria make them. So we own the recipe, I will just say, boastfully say. But the ones my mother made are
melanzane
goddamn
ripiene.
so
You
good.
said,
Yeah, melanzane ripiene fritte però, eh.
ok,
And
ma ripiene di che cosa?
cioè ripiene senza carne, col proprio polpo della melanzana e poi cioè una mischela di pangrattato, di parmigiano reggiano, ehm, di prezzemolo, sale, pepe, uova. It's beautiful.
Buono,
It's beautiful. Yeah,
buoni.
it's so good.
That just, and
I'll send you
I
the
just ate
recipe.
lunch. Yes, please send me the recipe. I just ate lunch, but that's anything you talk about Parmigiana, I'm hungry already. Mi
Yeah,
viene
so
l'acquolina
good.
in bocca.
Yeah.
So you're clearly very linked to your family, your heritage. Do you have like a specific childhood moment that really that you could share with everyone? I mean, you spent a lot of time in Italy. You said you were back and forth. Calabria, I think when we spoke a few days ago, you said Calabria, but also Piemonte as well, correct?
Yeah, we
You
have
mentioned.
relatives there in just outside Torino in Val di Susa. Took a trip with my brother there one year. I swear to God, I've never cried so much in a car because they took us up to Sestriere. And I have a terrible fear of heights. And to see him sitting in the front seat with my cousin laughing his ass off, I swear I've never wanted to punch somebody more. And like I'm sitting in the back struggling, crying, quite literally as an adult. And they were finding this so humorous. So yeah, anyways, outside of Torino and Val di Susa, beautiful, beautiful place, by the way. And then, even that, when we're talking about regional cuisine, very different,
Oh
very
yeah. Oh
different.
my
So
gosh.
completely
I
different
mean, you have
profile.
this the spiciness from Calabria. The first thing I think of peperoncino and nduja,
Yes.
and
Oh my God.
then the when you go to Piemonte, things like bagna cauda and
Yeah.
more hearty type of
Yeah.
dishes.
Yeah. And a
Yes,
little, it's still fabulous, of course, when you're there because it all speaks to the experience and the moment that you're sharing and the people that you're sharing it with. But if I had to choose cuisine from either north or south, take me to the south.
take me to the south, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to offend any of the northern Italian listeners. I love northern Italian cuisine as well,
Same.
and of course, and it's such a difficult question when somebody asks me what region do you prefer in Italy when it comes to food, and I could never answer that question. I just
No.
have It's like trying to choose your favorite child. You
Yeah.
can't do it. It's impossible.
Well, no, you can. Everyone has a favorite child. Come on. They just
Okay.
don't know
Well, I don't have children, so I don't have that experience in choosing a favorite one.
it. That's okay. But yeah, it's true because people that actually understand, much like yourself and myself and so many others, that actually understand the cuisine across north to south of Italy, they understand that you might appreciate a specific wine from one region, a specific dish from a different region. So it's
Right.
not even which regional cuisine do you prefer, but sometimes it's right down to I appreciate the method that they use, for
Right.
example, right? So
Of
it's
course. Yeah.
yeah, it's sitting chatting with you, it's easily apparent why people call Italian so fucking crazy. We're
Yes.
so
Oh,
particular about
they
everything.
are. They are. No, but for good reason, I have to say. For good reason.
Oh, for
Mm,
sure.
You know, in most cases at least.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation the other day. I forget who I was talking to, but I mean, you could just take, maybe it was in you. I spoke to a few people within the past few days. Um, you could take one thing, make like salame, for example, in one way, and you go down the road and you change something a little bit, the technique, like you were just saying, and it's just a totally different product. And you have person A saying mine's better than yours, even though you're like a few kilometers away. So, I mean, I guess that leads me to my next thought or my next question.
Yeah.
How do you personally define, authenticity in cooking or in products, or why is it important to you, or is it important to you? I know
Yeah.
it's a
So
difficult question.
it is because there's the discussion of deciphering authentic cuisine that's Italian, and then deciphering authentic quality cuisine that's Italian, and then deciphering authentic cuisine that's even made here in Canada that's of Italian, let's call it immigration, so to speak, because realistically, that's what most everyone in the US and most everyone here in Canada did. My mom came here and it's not like she carried over containers and containers of product. She didn't carry over the soil. She didn't bring over the same rainwater or the sun. So they had to adapt a certain way. And so authenticity is, I won't say it's vague, it's very specific, but it's also, for me, find authenticity more so in the honoring of certain things, the honoring of certain dishes, the honoring of certain traditions, because they do really play a role in the dishes. I take, for example, something that if you learned from your mom or your nonna, you take that same dish and you sit in the kitchen with her and you practice and you make it and you watch her and you do it. It might not taste the same, but it'll be pretty goddamn close.
It will be, yes.
But then let's say teach someone else who doesn't have that appreciation for the tradition, the culture, the heritage, the understanding of what it all means to even be in tavola, then they'll use subpar ingredients. They won't necessarily care about what the ingredients are. It's, to them, it might be, well, mozzarella is mozzarella. That's,
Right.
it gives me fucking,
Goosebumps. I
yeah,
know.
a little worse.
Goosebumps. Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. But, and then it's now that's where the disconnect comes in. They may have attempted, which is beautiful, and we appreciate that. But at that point, and this I'll extend it over, you talk to any Italian in Italy, and they will say, that's not an Italian dish. Please don't
Exactly.
advertise it.
Oh
right?
yes,
And
absolutely.
and that same thing happened actually when I was in Italy now. So I went with a friend of mine, and one of the conversations that I keep having with people, and I'll tell you, it's crazy. It enrages me sometimes to hear when people say we put sugar in the sauce. Ma chi cazzo t'ha insegnato a mettere zucchero in un
I've never,
sugo?
lo so. I've never heard it. I've heard of people saying that. I've never seen it before. I've never thought of it to even be a possibility. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, until people would say, "Oh, have you tried doing this?" Oh, interesting. I've never done it, but
yeah, exactly. And then to know that people just carry on with the doing of things without actually understanding why they're doing it. And so I feel like there's been a little bit of a disconnect. And so for me, full circle back, that's why I associate very specifically authenticity with at least an understanding of the tradition.
and I think you explained it very nicely. And a lot of people get that because they're born into it. Maybe like yourself and like me. I think of, growing up, my mom would make my favorite dish, parmigiana, and it's like I said, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I could eat it, and when I try to make it myself, it's good but not great. Not like the way she makes it. But I still have that desire to try and to do things the right way. So I guess, like, how do you teach passion to somebody who wants to learn it? How do you teach passion? How do you teach that secret ingredient, which is, I guess, love of the dish, or wanting to learn?
Well, you already started off with the most important element of learning. They want to. And when you want to, you already have, whether it's a little bit or a lot, you have some passion and interest in whatever the dish is, or the culture is, or the cuisine is around the world that you want to learn. And so it makes it so much easier because now you're more attentive. It's not, well, fuck, I have to learn how to make this dish. It's, I really want to, and I want to understand. And I believe that that's very possible. I mean, I have conversations with my mother all the time now, and even though she's 90, almost 91 next month, and the conversation really goes sideways very fast because I'll be talking to her about pomodoro and she responds with potato chips or whatever the hell is happening, but we'll circle back to the conversation, her and I, and we get there, and she'll always say to me, she goes, no, no, tu eres sempre curiosa, tu te mentivi, me guardi. Sorry, now I go dialect when I talk about my
Right?
mom. And,
Well, that's what you're used to speaking with her.
yeah, so and that's what you have to have. And I was two at the time. So it doesn't, it's possible for everyone to want to learn something. You just
Yes.
have to really want to. If you're not interested in learning, it's going to take a lot longer to learn. And B, you're your creations are not going to come out the same because I will tell you, just like you've seen it, just like I've seen it, and so many other people. Quella piccola nonnina bassina in cucina.
Hmm.
Holy shit, that rhymed. Um,
Brava.
she, the way you would watch her do things was emotional in itself. The
It
way
was,
she would
yes.
roll the dough, the way she would stir the sugo. Part of what I'm writing in the book is there's a romanticism to creating Italian food. And if you don't have an interest from the outset, you can't gain that. You might learn it along the way, but you have to have an appreciation for it. And you have to be able to have an interest. So it starts from there.
So people
Uh,
have to experience. They have to experience this, of course. If they didn't grow up with it, I mean, one way to experience that would be to go to Italy. But not everybody has the means, of course, to go to Italy, which is what we're trying to do, and bring Italy
yeah,
to them. You
that's
know,
right.
so trying to talk about and spread the real authentic, or no, maybe I won't use the word authentic, but the real way of doing things, and the real way of recognizing things in the supermarket is what I do, and you teaching, in terms of culinary practices as well. So we try and stay true to our roots, but just really do what we want to do in terms of
Yeah.
passion, because people see that you radiate passion. Like our conversation right now, I could feel the passion that you bring, even though you're all the way in Toronto and I'm in New Jersey. I could feel that, which is a good thing. Um,
Amazing. Yeah.
so in your experience, how has traditional Italian cuisine like how's it evolved in recent years? Because if you go back to maybe when your mother went to Canada, or my grandparents came to the United States, things have changed. Obviously, you mentioned that they didn't bring over all these products, so they had to evolve and use what they had available in both Canada and the United States in these two examples. But how has Italian cuisine evolved in recent years in your practice? And how can we continue to innovate while respecting tradition at the same time, which is very difficult?
Yeah, and you make a very valid point, and that's a great question. I do think that we'll start with the answer first. I do think that it's possible to innovate while honoring tradition. And I think the thing that correlates the moving away from tradition into the innovative is the respect that we give the story, the respect that we give the narrative, and the narrative that we actually share forward. Because to anybody going to sit at any table, you put them a dish on the table, and it doesn't matter, we're not even speaking price at the moment or where. If there's no story correlated, you've now taken away an experience and you're just giving somebody a McDonald's, so to speak. And so if there's no narrative, there's no emotion, there's no beauty, there's no passion. It is completely conveyor belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that right there is, in my opinion, anyways, if we continue to tell the story, whether it's a completely modern dish, but with an original element to it, take ad esempio Massimo Bottura, the crunchy part of the lasagna, e ma cazzo, lui ha creato un mondo, ma ogni giorno inventa, 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 innovativo, sempre con un collegamento alla tradizione.
Certo.
And I think that's what makes
Al
him so,
racconto, al racconto.
sta raccontando assolutamente. And so if there's no story, then we don't know, or the end, the person sitting at the table doesn't know that it's an Italian dish of the past being innovative to
Exactly.
something new, right? And so
It
I think
become it becomes an experience, is what you're
exactly. And I
saying.
think that's really, I think we're actually moving away from dining. And I think we're really, really, really moving toward a world of experience. And I for one, am completely proud of that, because it's nice to see that at least that is one way that people can actually get to share in what Italians, consider to be our everyday lives, but other people consider la dolce vita.
Exactly. I think you're right in saying that we are moving in that direction, because if we take into consideration younger generations, experience and originality are two key words that really, let's just say, summarize their mentality. They're always looking for an experience, and they don't want to be duped with anything. They like original with everything.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them. So, would you say, in your experience in teaching cooking classes and interacting with people around the world, that storytelling aspect has been something you enjoyed the most, or is there something else that what do you enjoy the most with what you do?
Well, I enjoy everything because of the way I do it. I don't just, if you're coming to take one of my classes, I'm not just putting the ingredients in front of you and saying, okay, we're doing this, we're measuring this, this is how you do it, this is how you roll the pasta, and off you go.
Right.
There's a story. I mean, if you go online, for example, on my website, the reservations to come to either a class or a dinner read from 6 to 8 p.m. I have yet to meet a single fucking client that has left at 8 p.m. Like in the summertime, everyone's here till 11, 11:30, 10 o'clock is probably the earliest. They come in, people that come here for the first time don't know what to expect. And I understand that, because I'm a complete stranger to them. Sometimes I'm baffled that, you know, strangers come into strangers' homes. And then I realize that the only reason I'm thinking that and I'm baffled is because I'm in a small town where there's not a lot of Italians, or at least I feel like I'm the only one here. But I will tell you, it's not that. You come in, we're going to have a prosecco. Yeah, you're going to sit on my sofa. We're going to chat for a bit before dinner even comes out.
Of course.
So,
That's
you know,
great.
and even with the pasta classes. And so you feel like you are part of my family, and I feel like I'm part of your family. And so for me, the classes are all enjoyable, not because of what I'm teaching you, but also because of the experience that you're leaving with. And I feel the same way a nonna does or a nonno does. You know, I'm sure you've experienced this. You go to Italy and you go to a contadino or anybody that works on a farm to produce beautiful artisan product, and you ask them, what do you want me to do with this information? And they will all tell you the same thing: share it. And that's really the most enjoyable part of it. And so for me, yeah, I enjoy that we're making pasta with prosecco in mano. I enjoy that we're rolling and doing things nonna way. I mean, I'm not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of folk dresses, but you know, like we get the nonna way, and it's all intuitive,
Could
by the
be
way.
for your next class. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. You know, there's no measuring cups. There's nothing. Mamma ha fatto tutta d'occhio, nonna ha fatto tutta d'occhio. So all my classes are intuitive. And, you know, for me, it's knowing that they leave and then getting that first email to say, I made pasta because you taught me to make it so much easier and faster than taking out a bullshit KitchenAid and that I have
Hmm.
to clean. So
Exactly.
that that is what makes it enjoyable for me, to know that I've given someone an actual skill that they can experience with their friends, their family, their kids, by themselves even. And that to me is what I enjoy the most.
And that's fantastic, because it goes back to our original question: how do you teach somebody to want to do it right? And I feel like all roads lead to experience. All roads
Yeah.
lead to Rome. That's what's happening. Creating an enjoyable and pleasurable experience that people want to imitate at home. Because we
Yes.
even said this a few days ago when we spoke on the phone. When we go to Italy, we have fun. We're talking to people, understand. We come back and we want to imitate that. We do it for a day or two or a week, and
Yeah.
then it kind of we try and bring that feeling back home with us. So in everything that you do quite a bit. So on behalf of Italian cuisine, not that I'm the spokesman for it, but I thank you for what you do,
Well, you
because
you
it's
are
great.
actually, yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Has there any been challenges with like, have you ever gotten pushback, or probably not? I mean, I would never.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, and as you're saying it, I'm not even looking to anyone that might be uh in a position to give me pushback. The only thing coming to my mind is, who the fuck would say no? Like, who would not want to learn Italian food? Who would not want to enjoy Italian food?
You're
Who
right.
would not want to enjoy the experience of being in Italy? It's insane to me. Mi sembra una cosa banale, guarda.
No, I know.
And uh, you know, so for me, it's everyone loves going to Italy. The one thing that I will say I get, and it's not really pushback of, it's when I do have people here or even in their homes and we're doing a class or whatever, the one thing I do, not continually, but every so often here is, oh, I wish we could do this. And I wish we, well, hang on a second. Nobody tells you to sit in a drive through at Starbucks for shitty coffee. Nobody tells you to enroll your kids in 35 activities a week. Nobody
Right.
tells you to take on all these tasks that you force yourself to then be in burnout mode later. We have choices. We all have choices. We can choose to enjoy life. And this is the one thing, and I was speaking to somebody else about this morning actually, is that Italians have masterfully understood: devi andare a lavoro, I have to go to work. I know that this is on the checkbox of must do. I have to pay my bills. I know which day I have to pay my bills. This is on the checkbox of must do. Everything else is up to me to enjoy.
Yes,
And
we have a
that's why,
lot to learn.
yes, you
We
know,
as
we
societies have a lot to learn. Absolutely. And
yeah, you
and
know,
you make me think, and that was a great answer, by the way. I remember, I think you put a story up a day or two ago. You said it was bad weather outside, but inside it's nice, and
yeah,
you're cooking a minestra, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah.
And that
Zucchero
yeah,
parola.
yes, and that's a good way to look at things. I mean, you're in control with what you do, and it doesn't matter if they say to do A, B, and C out there. What you do personally inside, let's just say, is totally up to you. So, it's my understanding that you also collaborate with local food producers, and maybe not so local because of the one in Abruzzo, and specialty shops. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I mean, Rustichella D'Abruzzo, it's by far. I've been eating Rustichella for many, many years, long before I even spoke with them about being an ambassador. But, being there this year in Pescara, where they produce, it's such an impressive product, I'll tell you. I mean, it was good before. Now it's just so much better because, again, we talk about the story, we talk about tradition, we talk about everything. When I was in their factory and in their plant, we talked about this the other day. Tonnarelli al peperoncino, for example, which is one of their pasta shapes. It looks like a spaghetti, but it's al peperoncino. It's a red color. It's beautiful. They're not like any other company, and I'm not suggesting that every other company that has colored pasta is just a color. But I mean, this is where you come in, and this is where I come in, where we teach people to actually do their research on what the products really are. And so Rustichella d'Abruzzo doesn't just, take coloring or flavor and infuse their pasta. I've seen it with my own freaking eyes, where they're taking the peperoncino from their crops. They're drying them by air, by sun, by the beauty that is around them. And let me tell you, I have such an appreciation for Abruzzo over the past 20 years. It's remarkable. And I'm Calabrese to the core. But you say to me, Abruzzo is the only place in Italy you can move to, my fucking bag is packed. And I'm there. I'm there.
I
So
love Abruzzo. Abruzzo is a great place. I'm from Molise origin, so we're
Molise as well, yeah, and we
neighbors to the south.
underappreciate. Yeah, we underappreciate. They've got some fantastic wines that are coming from there,
They
beautiful
do.
products. Well, Rustichella. So back to the peperoncino, they take their own, they dry them, they turn them into a powder, and that's what gets put into their pasta. So it's process, process, process. I spoke very thoroughly with their technicians. I met everyone on the team there. It's fantastic. And when you see how close knit of a family they actually do work together as, you really appreciate so much more the quality that you're tasting on that plate on your table. And so it's not even about me collaborating with just people. For me, it has to mean something. The other two that I collaborate with locally as supermarkets here are Cataldi, that has 2 locations in Woodbridge and Toronto, and then Nardini, which is in Stony Creek, because they understand the exact same thing. And to them, it amazes me. I've been shopping in Cataldi since I was a kid, but it amazes me that they insist on bringing in product from Italy that their customers are going to enjoy. And so when a store owner has that much care for their customers, then you see the quality of product that they actually have on their shelves. And so it's specific people. But then also it's local farmers and other local products, because again, going back to the whole mama as an immigrant, not everything came from Italy. And so you were able to create Italy at home and bring Italy at home, which is, the brand that I'm basically pushing. And it's about the essence of Italianism, the dolce vita, la convivialità, i piatti tipici, i piatti tradizionali, through local produce that we have here in season, because that's
Of
what
course,
they
in
did.
season.
Whether it was a small house or a big house or a little apartment that they started off in here, they found a way to make it work. There
That's
was no
correct.
excuse. There
They did.
was un appartamentino, cazzo. I'm in an apartment. I have just a terrace. I don't have a massive backyard. And I've got a freaking fig tree on my terrace, for
Oh,
heaven's
do
sake.
you? Wow.
I do, yeah,
Wow.
and that's,
Complimenti. Wow.
it's, yeah, you hear anybody, it's, well, no, you can't grow that in Ontario. Says who? Says who? Exactly.
You could give it a try. Exactly.
You
Wow.
know,
Awesome.
take the lessons that you've learned from people. And that fig tree came from another farm that I love so much, Romagnoli, is out in Niagara region here. Fantastic, fantastic farm. So like, it's not always about only Italian stuff. It's about creating the lifestyle, the food, and the life itself that everyone actually craves, which is Italian, right here at home where we are, wherever home is.
And I couldn't agree with you more. You're 100% correct with that. And that kind of leads me to my next thought. I know you're writing a cookbook, Italy at Home, if I'm not mistaken, is the name.
Yes, Italy at Home is the name of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
which is great because everybody wants to bring Italy at home. I sure do. I try my best. So could you tell us about that journey? What has that been like? what I know I could probably understand already what inspired you to do it, but I'll let you tell your own story.
It's I don't want to put too much nuance to it because I could sit here and talk about it for hours, and there are times that I can sit and write for hours when I get to the book, and then there are times that I feel like I can't put together two words or a sentence in the book, because what it is again basically everything that we're talking about, the tradition, et cetera, and so forth. And I think, not trying to make myself sound almighty or anything, because I'm not, and there's so much that I have to learn. But I will tell you, I've been pretty privileged to grow up with not only an Italian mother that, albeit, by the way, 5 kids, and she raised us as a single mom. So not only did she do what she had to do, multiple jobs to put food on the table for her 5 kids and herself as a secondary, by the way, I learned from early on that cooking, whether you have a stressful life or not, is such an enjoyable thing. And when you can prepare a dish that honors someone who taught you the very lessons that holy shit, that story just goes so deep. And I see it even when I put things on social media, when people comment, it's like, oh, I remember that. And I remember that. And thanks, Daniela, for reminding me of that and everything else. So the book in itself is very much an ode to not just my mother, everyone's mother, everyone that has those memories, everyone that has that nostalgia, everyone that wants to cook those extremely simple dishes that they can then, even though it's sort of missed half a generation, I hope that that book gives them an opportunity to kind of pick up and continue the traditional generation down. So, yeah.
That's nice. That's nice, and I wish you all the success with that. I can't wait till it's available. Is there an ETA more or less? Because I want to buy a copy.
I mean, it depends. If we have a saying in Calabrese, it's uyastimo, which means the yelling and the screaming. So it depends. If you're here on a day where I'm doing a whole bunch of that and ripping up pages and everything else, then there's no ETA yet. And it's because I've put this self responsibility on my shoulder to make sure that I do good to the nonna, to the nonno, to everybody. Because unless it's authentically true, I, I'd feel like a dirtbag for even printing the book. So it's got to be authentic for me. And I've been, like I said, I've been pretty damn privileged to know so many people from north to south of Italy. First because I don't travel like a local, or I don't travel like a tourist. I travel like a local. And when I'm there, people don't even understand that I live in Canada or how I got to Canada or, whatever. And I don't know if it's because I grew up with older people in my life. And so it's easy for me to hang out with the little nonnina or a zia or a zio or anybody else. And, and every little bottega that I go by, I've got memories since I was 2 years old of these fantastic people that are recreating that traditional art, the art that's lost in every single sense. And so, I'd love to say the book is already on shelves. But for me, making sure that I'm honoring everyone that it's for in the proper way is more important to me.
And that's great because I could sense it that you're true to your words. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you. First of all, I want to be respectful of your time. We've been talking for about 40 minutes, but I just had like,
I can keep all my day. I don't care.
yeah, that's fine. Oh, we'll go. Fire up the mocha and we'll have some coffee.
Vino.
Yeah, un po' di vino, dai, su. So, do you what's your all-time favorite Italian dish to prepare?
Oh my God.
I'm going to ask you some difficult questions now.
These are difficult
I know.
because there are so many different dishes that give me so many different memories. And That's what I go by. Um, I mean, lasagna is one of them. Um, because again, it evokes a memory of me being a kid and waking up on Sunday morning and just seeing my mom make everything from scratch. Um, strozzabriti, which long before it was called strozzabriti, was a pasta cuyuncu down in our town. And so was the pasta ai ferri, maccheroni ai ferri. And, thankfully, that is something that even if I don't have time to make on a regular, Rustichella D'Abruzzo makes it pretty damn close to homemade ones. So I use that one
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
often,
sure
to
it's
be honest.
delicious.
So,
That's a brand I've actually seen in one of my super. I've never bought it, and I definitely
no,
want to try once I eat all the pasta I already have because I don't want to waste it. Which is another thing I don't
I'm
like
sure you're not
wasting.
going to waste it.
Huh?
I'm sure you won't waste it.
I'm
Try
definitely not.
it.
I'm definitely not going to waste it 100%. I'm saying the pasta that I have already, I have to eat that first. Um, but I know
Invite some
eventually.
friends over, and there you go.
That's true. Yes, that is true. That is true. Um, so so I'm with Stop Italian Sounding. I, as you know, talk a lot about debunking things or looking for the how to find the authentic product in the supermarket, what to look for, different logos, so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
from your point of view, what is one common misconception about Italian food that you would like to debunk?
Oh God. Oh, it's so funny. I went to I take country roads as often as I can. And I was out this morning and on my way back I saw this Hungarian center. So I stopped in, I picked up a schnitzel sandwich and I asked her to put me together some other stuff and she says, "What do you like?" I said, "Don't ask me what I like. Give me your specialties. I'll take them home. I'll have the panino for the schnitzel sandwich for lunch and then I'll make whatever you give me for dinner later." And I see this pack of cookies, bought them.
Okay.
And here's one thing that I would like debunked. So I've noticed that there's a lot of countries around the world that import product to Canada, and there's only a little sticker that's written in English. The entire package is how they produce it in their country. I'd like to know why the fuck in this country Italian product has to come in with different labels altogether. That's one thing I would like to see changed because we talk about authentic, inauthentic, et cetera, and so forth. Well, that would be the number one indicator. If the package is not English, and that's where the regulation is in Canada or US, if it's from Italy, give us your Italian label. Well,
Right.
then we know it's obviously made there,
Right.
and then the conversation of quality is different because there's good and poor quality in any manufactured country in any product. So that's completely irrelevant. But that's the one thing I would like to see. It would be the number one indicator right there.
It's always a pretty cool thing to see when you buy something that's written in the language that the product comes from. In this case, let's just say
Yeah.
Italian. I think of the famous example of Nutella made in North America compared to
Oh,
Nutella like in the glass
yeah.
jar, the
Yeah,
actual one from Italy.
that's
Um,
right.
yes,
And it
yes.
tastes different. Have you ever
It,
bought both of them and do a comparison? It tastes
yeah, I've had
different.
both of them. I've never actually done a side by side comparison, but I have had both of them. Yes, they do taste different. You're right.
Yeah,
The
they
North
taste
American one's
different.
more sweet.
The North American one is more sweet, artificially, of course. And then also the one in the glass jar, the one that's produced in Italy, rimane più cremoso.
Hmm.
Not that
It
I'm
does.
saying that Nutella lasts long in anybody's house, but
It does.
rimane più cremoso. Whereas the American or Canadian made one from Ferrero, it gets hard. It's not pretty.
They have to
It's just
cater to
not
the
pretty.
North American taste, which is more sugar, more, and they're producing in North America. They have probably production facilities. I'm not sure exactly where, and for
Yeah,
various reasons that I'm not going to get into. But I mean, they do taste different. They do, and the same thing if you think about like an American product that you could find in Europe, like Coke over there
yeah,
or Fanta. The
yeah,
first time I had Fanta was in Italy,
yeah,
which I'm not sure if I don't even know if that's American, but it's not Italian to my knowledge. It tastes totally different compared to the Fanta that you have here in
yeah.
North America, and I
Yeah,
prefer the one over there.
of
It
course.
tastes
Yeah,
more
I agree with you. I mean, even Coca-Cola over
mhm,
there is so much better.
right.
It's so good.
It is.
So, yeah, so that's one thing I'd like to debunk. The other one is if it's not made in Italy, I don't like seeing the word product of Italy on the products. And we had this conversation before where
Hmm.
for you in the States, it means one thing, and here in Canada, it means something else.
Which is something I did not know until you brought that
Yeah.
up. Product of Italy in the United States is 100% sourced in Italy, but I'll let you talk about the Canadian side of things.
Yeah. So, it's on the Canadian side of things, it's product of Italy just means that it's a product that is associated to the Italian culinary culture. And so it's kind of as though I would take, uh, and albeit I'm not disregarding or disrespecting this at all, but let's say I were to take the tomatoes from my own garden and I put them in a jar and I slap on an Italian flag, which is another thing, on that jar, and I put product of Italy. I put that on store shelves. Well, the only thing that's a product of Italy about that jar is the fact that the tomatoes are a product that people associate with Italian cuisine. That's it. And so you see that very often. And that's one thing that I keep telling people. It's insane.
So there's
It's
even
every
less so there's even less transparency in Canada from that point of view.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
it's such a frustrating thing because, when people like you or people like me try to share and share and share, then what ends up happening is there's a disconnect after us because people go to the store and we see it. There's 95 million people doing cooking videos on every social media platform. It's, oh yeah, I went to the store, I picked up this is an Italian thing, or the trend that I've seen is, oh, I learned from an Italian how to do this. Tell me what fucking Italian puts pasta in a pan to put in the oven just like that. Like, please tell me.
Like these I don't even know what they call like one pot recipes or whatever it is.
Yeah,
You talk about, I saw it from an Italian. It makes me think of it's a trademark saying here in the United States on a brand. I can't think of the brand, but it says "made by real Italians" and then a little TM at
oh,
the top. I
yeah,
find I can't help but laugh. I just laugh at it. Made by real Italians, okay, and
yeah.
I still don't know what I'm eating.
It's crazy. Well, it's the same as 100% beef with reference to McDonald's. It's not beef that you're eating. 100% beef is the name of the company they get
Ex-
their garbage from. Like,
Jeez,
it's
we
crazy that people
we
don't
have
know
we have a lot of work to do when it comes to food transparency, when it comes to food quality, when it comes to
that. Yeah.
sourcing things. So going back to Canada, so
Yeah.
how could you specifically tell that that product is 100% Italian?
So on the label, and this is where it gets a little, we can understand it to a certain point and then we almost have to trust it after that certain point. So there are certain specific things that are on, I won't say all labels, but a lot of labels, and that is the country of origin. Sometimes if it reads imported for, then we almost, and I'll bench this for a second. When I was in school as a kid, we took in our English class, and part of that English class was journalism. We had to learn W5H. And what W5H stands for is the who, what, where, when, why, how of questioning things. And that is something that very few people do today. And it's not even about, oh, I'm curious, because there isn't a single person that if they don't want to find a dress, a pair of shoes, a specific concert to go to, they know how to use social media. They know how to search. They know how to find information. And so it leads me to believe that people are just more interested in just following what people say and not really doing their own research. And so going back to that now, there are a lot of labels that read imported for and then the name of the import company. Great, it's imported. Where did you import it from?
Yeah. But even if it's imported from Italy, we don't know that that product is actually
That's right.
100% sourced in Italy. So
That's right.
there are a lot of gray areas,
There are, absolutely. And, that's one of the things that I love about what you're doing because it's so important. Now, I understand that, even with the gray area, the things that we can't control. I mean, I'm a serial researcher. I'll tell you, I am a serial researcher, but um, it, there's stuff that you look at, and I understand if you've checked off most of the boxes and not all of them check off and you feel comfortable with your purchase, then that's great. That's
of
amazing.
course. Oh yeah.
And it doesn't matter. And, we're not trying to, you know, bash or shut down any company, and we're not trying to do that. I think what you and I can agree on is just be honest with what you're selling.
Of course.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So, you
100%
know,
agree with that. And I wish we
yeah,
had laws similar to that of Italy. Italy has very strict country of origin laws and import export laws and food safety laws as it is. I mean, I just wish we would mimic that system here, but I think we're very far away, very very far away from that.
I
One
have,
could only hope.
yeah, one can only hope. And I have this, not to sound pessimistic. I mean, agriculturally, we're sort of going in a good direction, but I would rather someone be completely honest. And, if you're going to make a tomato sauce, for example, sure, put a label on it that it's of Italian tradition, but tell me that it's Ontario tomatoes. I'd be more inclined to buy it because you're honest with me now.
Absolutely, 110%. In fact, it makes me think of a tomato sauce brand here in New Jersey that because we produce a lot of tomatoes in Jersey, the famous Jersey
Yeah.
tomato. I don't know if you've heard of that. Um, and literally on the jar it says made with Jersey tomatoes, like in
Yeah.
big. And I would rather buy that than a fake Italian product.
That's right. Exactly.
I mean,
The
they're
origin.
proud that it's made in New Jersey, and there's
There you
nothing
go.
wrong with
See?
that. That is,
Yeah.
and that
So, yeah.
also leads me to my next thought. And I say this all the time. I talk a lot about Parmigiano Reggiano. It's one of my favorite cheeses compared to that of, let's just say, Parmesan, and made in other areas of the United States. I don't want to name any specific brands, but my question is this: why, if you're using local ingredients, you're using local know-how, local everything, why not just change the name of that hard cheese? Don't stop producing it. Of course, produce it, but call it something else. Therefore, competing with Parmigiano Reggiano, you have now created a totally different cheese because let's be real, Parmigiano Reggiano has nothing to do with Parmesan made in North America.
That's
And I think
right.
even those producers would say so. Two totally different cheeses. Why not call it something different? Why not now compete?
Because at the end of the day, everybody wants Italian product.
I know exactly. You're right.
And so they figure, let me at least mask it to sell it.
Right.
And
At a cheaper price.
yeah, at a cheaper price. And this is where it makes me crazy. It's not even so much that, again, going back to the be honest with me, go back to the tell me what it is. It's more, you are quite literally misleading people that are buying your product. And these people that are buying your product are going around claiming to be using Italian product, not knowing what they're eating. And
Mhm.
that is the bigger problem
That's right.
because, you know, we want we want to share authenticity. You and I, for example, are extremely proud of where we come from, our roots, our heritage, our products. And we might live outside of Italy, but we're just as goddamn crazy as they are.
It's
And
sometimes even more.
Exactly. And I will tell you, I don't want to go to a grocery store and see the word Parmesan. And I've had this conversation with quite a few people who are like, what's the difference? I'm like, first of all, Parmesan is an English word referring to an English or non-Italian produced product. It's not Parmigiano. Parmigiano è il proprio nome del prodotto. Basta.
Esattamente, esattamente. And I always
Just
try, and I mean, in the content that I create and the conversations I have, I always try to, I mean, I always use the word Parmigiano, even if I don't say it with an Italian accent, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you say it with an Italian accent. I don't speak Italian. It's easier to say Parmesan than say Parmigiano.
no.
Parmigiano, and anybody put an O at the end of Parmigiano, done. And that's fine. That's fine. We're not saying that you have to be fluent in the Italian language, but they are two different products. And that's the point
They
that
are.
we're trying to make.
Exactly.
It's extremely important, and yeah, there are so many products out there that fit into that category.
Tons. Yeah. I mean, Nduja, I picked up a package intentionally knowing that it wasn't made there. I actually sent it to one of my suppliers, and you don't want to read the text message I sent, but it was,
Oh, mamma mia!
calabrese of me.
God, there you go.
And,
I'm sure. Un po'
and it was,
piccante, probabilmente. Un po'
well,
piccante.
that was actually kind of mild considering the person I was sending it to. So it was okay. It was respectful of me. And I said, why are we selling this as an Italian product, and so we say things like product of Italy. The Italian flag is another thing. I mean, tell me, and I'll ask you very candidly. Tell me in which, forget about tourist area cities, but when you're in the villages, tell me which restaurant has an Italian flag on it.
None. Zero.
Thank you. Why the fuck are we putting Italian flags on product? That should be indicator number one that chances are it's not made in Italy.
Exactly. Same thing with products as well. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Restaurants, products,
Yeah,
it is the number one. The exaggerated Italianness is the number one
exactly.
indicator. No Italian producer would exaggerate the Italianness. Maybe if at best you'll have like a little tricolore at the bottom. At best. At the most.
Yeah, but even that. But
Even then.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, that's the number one indicator. And you think of like even these restaurants with big giant Italian flags, or another thing that gets me is when you're looking at the menu, and the order. I call it the order of operations. Like the
yeah,
antipasto, primo, secondo, and none of that exists on that menu. So you're like,
yeah,
that's a red flag right there. That's a red flag.
yeah, yeah.
You should at least follow the order of traditional Italian, dining, because that tells me that the owner knows something about Italy, how things are done.
That's right. Yeah. So no, we may have met a short while ago, but we have a lot of work to do, kid.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
A
do.
lot of work to
A
do.
ton of work. A ton of work. Um, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask you one more fun question, a difficult
Yeah, go.
question. You ready? Because again, I want to respect your time.
By the way, just curious before you ask me the next question, is there a raw version of this that you're going to keep the entirety of?
Raw version. Yeah, I keep everything.
Cool. So can you send me the raw version because I don't care how vulgar I am. Like I want to actually put the raw version up
Oh
on my
yeah,
site.
I'm not editing any of the words you're saying.
Oh,
This is
amazing.
recorded right now and it's going.
I
It's
love
going.
you more now. Okay,
So here it is.
what's
You ready? You ready for the
yeah,
difficult question? If you had to
yeah.
choose one ingredient to cook for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Jesus Christ. Cioè, ma ingrediente può essere eh, just one ingredient?
One ingredient, one product to use.
Well, I'll probably say pasta because pasta is the one thing that I can create so many other things from, and it's not just pasta. Cioè, da pasta e poi all'avanzato il giorno dopo posso fare una frittata, posso fare il forno, posso fare tantissime cose.
Buonissima la frittata di spaghetti, di pasta
Ah,
avanzata, buonissima, mamma mia.
yeah, yeah. And then you take your plain cooked pasta and you cut it up and you make your own little pastina and
Mhm.
it's yeah, there's a lot of versatility with pasta, I think. So I'd probably have that. If it's the one ingredient, then it would probably be that.
Now, do you have a good brand of pasta that you use?
Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy. I had a client come here the other day, and my pantry was half. So it's not even a pantry; it's a little sgabozzino sotto scala, and it's funny. Oh my god, my mother was here, and that's another funny story. But so client came, saw the half open. He goes, Danielle, can I open this? What is this? I said, yeah, yeah, open. He goes, you have a store in here. And under my stairs, if I take a photo for you, ti giuro, the tomato passata that I made, the shelf upon shelf upon shelf of pasta, prodotti italiani,
Mm,
you can tell that it's not just a non-Italian that lives here. Like it's not a non-Italian that lives here.
right,
There
right.
isn't a single package that's written in English. It's
I
crazy.
love that. I love that. I
It's
love that.
amazing.
Why would
Yeah.
you ever want to eat out at that point when you're doing all this great stuff?
Well, I do eat out, but the way I eat out is actually different. If it's a restaurant, I always ask to not get the menu. I don't want the menu. I always ask to speak with the chef. Number one, because I respect what she or he is doing,
Hmm.
and I want to say hello and I want to introduce myself. And then I tell them to make me a dish very specifically that's not on the menu, something that speaks to their heart, whatever it is. And, for me, it's about honoring how something is supposed to be made and not reading something from a menu and ordering it and going through the bland process of things.
I thought I was the only one in the world that did that.
No,
You do
no.
it too.
Like chefs go through a lot, and it's not, I don't, to be honest, I don't consider myself a chef. I've got my shelf jackets hanging right there. I don't consider myself a chef. And, for me, I consider myself more the modern nonnina.
The
And
modern nonnina. Very interesting.
yeah,
I like that.
so it's, for me, that's what it is. And chefs go through a lot. It's,
They
people
do.
don't understand the work that they go through. It's preparing stuff, it's doing stuff. It's a lot of ridiculous questions and requests
Hmm.
from people that come in. And I always cater back to, or rear back to this, in Italy, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the window at most stores, be it city or town, prices are on everything. There's a little tiny tag, or it's a paper tag with a safety pin on the product in the window. So you know the price. If you can't afford, state a casa, non entrare, non venire,
Exactly. You don't.
non ci spaccare il culo. And with restaurants, I consider it to be the same. If
Hmm.
it's a steakhouse, please don't go there looking for pasta. Have a goddamn steak. And try to honor and respect what that particular restaurant is doing for you.
Exactly. Agree 100%. It makes me think of my favorite restaurant in New Jersey. In fact, I found this restaurant I'm going to do a shout out in Collinswood, New Jersey. It's called Sapori. Franco is the owner and chef. He does a great job. I found that restaurant just by looking at menus online, and I saw antipasto, primo, secondo. I saw zero spelling errors. I'm like,
Oh
I'm going
my
to give it
God.
a try. So far, it's like you check all these boxes. That's like literally one of the only restaurants, Italian restaurants I would eat at now. And on the back of his menu, he has a bunch of rules, Italian rules that,
Oh
why
my God.
chicken shouldn't go on pasta, or why you shouldn't have cappuccino after dinner, or why this, why that. And I love it. I love it. I said, "Do you
Yes.
actually follow these rules? Do you get weird requests?" He's like, "You know what? In the beginning, I would 100% follow the rules, but now people just keep asking him. It's like, I have to stay in business. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
And he has everything authentic on his menu. He does it the right way. Everything's spelled correctly. His staff's Italian, waiters, waitresses. I mean, you go there, you feel
Oh,
like you're stepping in Italy. I love it.
I love that. And
I
that's,
know. And he's a friend.
ultimately that's all people
He's a
want.
friend of mine. After the
That's
years of dining there, he's a friend, and he's
yeah,
done
for
many
sure.
things.
And that's the other thing about authentic Italian, restaurants and trattoria, or whatever they call them here in North America, because we don't even have that.
That difference,
Right. We don't have it. To people here, an Italian restaurant is an Italian restaurant, and that's it.
right?
And so that's the beauty. But when you go into an authentic Italian restaurant, you feel different. You feel like you're being taken care of. It's not just, do you want water? Do you want wine? It's not that at all. And I'm not suggesting that any other restaurant is like that, but damn, you feel so different. You,
You
like
do.
you said, you feel like you're in Italy. And there's a couple of restaurants that I feel like that with when I go, but it's very few and far between.
It is, and you have to
And
stick with those restaurants too. You can't abandon them. You have to go back.
yeah, exactly.
100%, which I'm way
So,
overdue. I've been looking at his posts on Instagram, and I'm like, you know what? That looks good. I gotta go. So eventually I'm gonna make my way
that's
back
amazing.
there.
You know
Yes.
what? Talking to you has me wanting to take a trip out to come see you in the spring. And I'll grab a cute little Airbnb for myself, and I think we can take a couple of days and
And go explore
just,
some Italian restaurants.
yeah,
That would be
exactly, go
fun.
explore some Italian
That
restaurants
would be
and
great.
go shopping and debunk some of this crap.
Hey, that would be fun. We should definitely do that.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Daniela, this has been an awesome conversation. This has been great. So if people want to follow you, what do they look for? What's your website? What's your Instagram? What's everything? How could they reach you?
I've kept everything cohesive, so it's Daniela Sfara. So my social media is Daniela Sfara, very easy, first name, last name, and my website is same thing, first name, last name.com. So it's very
Simple as that.
easy.
Daniela Sfara. Very,
Yeah.
very easy. Very easy.
Italian food, the best Italian food is simple, so I've kept it simple.
Awesome. And that's the best way of doing things. Do you have a podcast as well? I know you said you have a microphone.
I do have a podcast microphone. The idea of doing a podcast has jumped in and out of my brain so many times. I don't know if I haven't done it for the lack of time. I don't know if I haven't done it because I don't want to start something that I can't completely commit to. Um, and I don't know if I haven't done it because a lot of my opinions would get me to get to 0 followers in 5 minutes.
I don't
So,
know. I'm
uh,
sure people agree with you with a lot of things. I'm sure.
so I don't know. So we'll see.
Well, especially with
Maybe I'll do
we'll
that
stick with
again.
Italian food, especially Italian food. You know, you have a big following of people who support authentic way of doing things, great Italian food, simplicity, sustainability, all that fun stuff. So there are a lot of
Yeah. Well,
people out there.
I'm just trying to do what everyone else did before me. So,
And you're keeping it going strong. You're doing a great job. You're doing a really good
thank
job.
you.
So
I appreciate that. Well, I mean, geez, so are you. It's fantastic. Everything that you're doing, it's not only important, but we need to know, even for the simple fact that we should know what we're eating. You're just taking it one step further because, as we said, everybody loves Italian food. So, if they can come to you for reference and education on at least knowing what they're buying, then, we've helped people. We've helped people. I would rather there's nothing wrong with you replicating a dish. There's nothing wrong with anybody that's not Italian making food, but be honest with what you're doing and be honest with what you're buying. If you want Italian product, let us help you. Let
absolutely.
Yeah, come to us. We'll show you the where, the what, the how. If you can't afford, $9 million for a specific cheese, then which other options you have. But at least you're still keeping it authentic for sure.
Exactly. I'm going to quote a good friend of mine, Mario Rizzotti. He always says, if you create a red car and you draw a horse on it, is it a Ferrari? It's not.
No, exactly.
It is not, because the internals are different. It's totally different. A red car with a horse is not a Ferrari. Therefore, Parmesan is not Parmigiano Reggiano,
That's great.
and that's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
we're striving for. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a fun conversation, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many.
Yes.
Ti aspetto in New Jersey, così andiamo a vedere tutti i ristoranti italiani. It'll be
Oh my God, that's going to be fun.
will be fun. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Next time, glass of vino with the conversation, 100%.
Absolutely. Or we have to do some type of virtual event where we invite some of our followers. Would be fun.
Yes, that
We'll
would
do
be
something.
amazing. That
Yes,
would be
yes.
amazing. We'll do a nice antipasto and conversation so everyone can
Assolut
go shopping to pick up the stuff that we talk about and we can all,
assolutame assolutamente sì, lo facciamo subito. Assolutamente.
perfect.
Sounds
Perfect.
great.
Okay, cool. It was so amazing chatting with you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I'm so thrilled that we connected and this has been great to say the least.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Grazie.
Un bacione. Un
Grazie, grazie. Un
bacione.
bacio anche a te. Grazie.
Grazie. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.